Welcome to SATV News. This is Nuri Alamin with the headlines. Interim government has no authority to issue July Charter implementation order, said Mr. Fakhrul, holding referendum before national polls illogical. Jamaat Islami's Naivi Army demands referendum date be announced tonight. Eight parties submit memorandum to EC demanding November referendum. A water lily bud added to EC's list of reserved election symbols. NCP not satisfied. Now in details. BNP Secretary General Mr. Fakhrul Islam Alamgir said the interim government has no authority to issue the July Charter implementation order, as only the President can issue an order. He made these remarks during a press conference held today at the BNP chairperson's office in the capital's Gulshan area. He also said that the proposals and recommendations of the National Consensus Commission are one-sided and are being forcibly imposed on the nation. Regarding holding a referendum on the proposals of the Consensus Commission, Mr. Fakhrul Islam Alamgir said BNP will never accept a referendum outside the election day. Considering the time, cost, and the massive logistical arrangements similar to an election, it is unrealistic and ill-considered, said the BNP leader. According to recommendations in the July National Charter Implementation Order, the reforms, if not enacted within the period, will automatically take effect as approval in the upcoming referendum, which is likely to be held alongside the national election. However, Mr. Fakhrul said the provision stating that the proposals would be automatically incorporated into the Constitution after 270 days is against democratic values. Meanwhile, BNP Senior Joint Secretary General Ruhul Kabir Rizvi has alleged that the National Consensus Commission submitted the July National Charter after replacing a page containing the BNP signature with another page. He also said there is no page signed by the BNP in the July Charter. Other pages have been added and submitted. This is very much unfortunate and a deceptive action. Such deception should not be done with the people, added the BNP leader. He made this remark while speaking to journalists in Rajbari Sadar Upazila today. Mr. Rizvi also said people had confidence in the interim government and the activities of the commission formed under his leadership. However, people cannot believe that such fraudulent incident would occur from within the commission. The BNP Senior Joint Secretary General said the July Charter contained 47 to 48 articles which would require constitutional amendment to be legally implemented. Mr. Rizvi further said that the charter which was prepared is alterative and deceptive and is a forgery to the people. BNP Acting Chairman Tariq Rahman has called for building Bangladesh in a way where every working mother and every female student has the freedom to thrive instead of being forced to leave work or education due to lack of adequate childcare. In a post on the verified Facebook page today, he also said the BNP rejects any regressive idea that limits women's potential. Empowering women through childcare, equal pay, and workplace safety is not only fairness, and it is smart economics. The BNP leader said his party's goal is to build a modern, people-centered Bangladesh where no woman has to choose between her family and her future. Mr. Tariq also said that BNP is considering launching a nationwide initiative to make childcare a part of Bangladesh economic growth strategy. He also added the plan includes setting up daycare center in all public university, gradually establishing daycare center in government office, and in making mandatory for paid private institutions and factories to provide childcare facilities. Bangladesh Jamaat Islami's Naivi Amir Sayyid Abdullah Muhammad Tahir today called on the interim government to announce the date for the national referendum by tonight. Speaking at an urgent press conference held at Al Falah Hall at Mokbajar in Dhaka, he also said BNP has said it will under no circumstances accept a referendum. Therefore, the interim government must immediately declare the date without any delay. Others can even be issued at night. He also warned that failing to issue the announcement would corrode public trust in interim government, putting the legitimacy of upcoming national election at risk. The Jamaat Islami leader added that the recommendations of the National Consensus Commission regarding the July National Charter referendum must be implemented either tonight or by tomorrow. Eight political parties, including Jamaat Islami and Islami Andolan Bangladesh, on Thursday submitted a memorandum to the Election Commission demanding a referendum in November, also implementation of July National Charter. The parties held a short rally in front of Nirbachan Bhavan in Agargaon near the metro rail station, where they set up a temporary stage on a truck. Jamaat leaders addressed the gathering, emphasizing the need for a constitutional order to implement the July National Charter and hold a referendum before the national parliamentary elections. They called on EC to take necessary measures to ensure equal opportunity for all parties in upcoming polls, warning that failure to do so would result in consequences similar to those faced by previous commission. Since September 30, the eight parties, including Khilafat Majlis, Bangladesh Khilafat Majlis, Bangladesh Nizami Islami Party, Bangladesh Khilafat Andolan, National Democratic Party and Bangladesh Development Party, have been campaigning with a 5-point demand. At the rally, Jamaat Assistant Secretary General Abdul Hamid, along with leaders Mubarak Hussain, Rizal Karim and Nazimuddin Mullah, addressed hundreds of party workers. The Bangladesh Meteorological Department (BMT) has forecast rain or thunderstorms at many places across Rangpur, Rajshahi and Mymensingh division over the next 24 hours, starting from 9 a.m. this morning. A light to moderate rain or thunderstorm are expected at most places in this division. Additionally, moderately heavy to heavy rainfall may occur at many places in Dhaka, Khulna and Sylhet division, and a few places in Barishal and Chattogram division, said the Met Office. Temperature are expected to drop slightly, with daytime temperature falling by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius and nighttime temperature decreasing marginally across the country. The deep depression over the Andhra Pradesh and surrounding area has weakened into the depression and then into a well-marked low-pressure area at the 6 a.m. today. It is expected to move northward and weaken further into a low-pressure area, BMT added. Viewers, we're taking a short break. Stay with us.
Gymnasium, beauty salon, restaurants and bar, cafe lounge, experience luxury at Grand Palace, Rangpur.
Welcome back, and you are watching SATV News. Now, news from abroad. U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday ordered the U.S. military to immediately resume testing nuclear weapons for the first time in 33 minutes before beginning a high-stakes meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Trump made the surprise announcement on Truth Social while he was abroad. His Marine One helicopter flying to meet Xi Jinping, a trade negotiation session in Busan, South Korea. He also made that he was instructing the Pentagon to test a U.S. nuclear arsenal on the equal basis with other nuclear power. Trump's decision to restart nuclear weapons testing follows a rapid expansion with China off its nuclear stockpile in recent years, and came just after Russia announced with a cold and successful test of nuclear power, a nuclear-capable cruise missile as well as a nuclear-powered torpedo. Meanwhile, later in the day, Donald Trump kicked off a meeting with China's leader Xi Jinping at the South Korea air base. The meeting was the first between the leaders since Trump returned to office in January. He has repeatedly expressed optimism about reaching an agreement with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping during the meeting, taking place the sideline of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. As they sat down with the negotiation of the begin talks, Xi Jinping told Trump it was normal for the two leading economies of the world to have friction now and then. A few days ago, trade negotiator has both countries reached a fundamental consensus on addressing each other's primary concern. She said he was willing to continue working with President Donald Trump to lay a solid foundation for China-US relations, Xi Jinping added.
We agree to some more right now, but President.
We do not always.
China's Commerce Ministry said on Thursday that it was willing to work with the United States to effectively implement the agreement, thereby injecting greater stability and certainty into China-US economic and trade cooperation in the global economy. The comments by spokesperson Da Yang came after announcement Wednesday, following the US President Donald Trump trade talk with Chinese President Xi Jinping earlier. The announcement continued to say that China and US agreed to extend their temporary trade truce as another year as part of agreement they reached after the top economic official met in Malaysia on last week. China will suspend related export control measures against the US, it announced on October 9 for the 1 year, as well as its relevant measures against the US regarding shipping once the United States suspension begins, the minister said.
分派尼关税和执法合作、农产品贸易和出口管制等方面，中美集。
The U.S. military killed 4 men in a strike on a suspected drug vessel in the Eastern Pacific on Wednesday. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Higgins confirmed the strike. The vessel, like all other, was known by U.S. intelligence to be involved in illicit narcotics smuggling, was transiting along a known narco-trafficking route and carrying narcotic. The Higgins said a post on X. The Higgins post including a short video clip on a boat in water that gets stuck and explodes. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro claimed on Wednesday that his country's intelligence services thought an alleged CIA planned to attack U.S. ships and Trinidad and Tobago water and blame Venezuela for the strike. The captured the mercenary have confessed everything, Maduro has said during a televised event, the state TV channel. Maduro also said the alleged plot was designed to justify military escalation against Venezuela. He didn't specify how many people were arrested or prove evidence to support his claim through his mentioned additional arrest in western Venezuela. The accusation came days after Venezuela denounced what it called a military provocation by Trinidad and Tobago in coordination with the CIA. The U.S. has maintained a naval and air deployment in the Caribbean region, which Caracas views as a threat aimed at regime change. Maduro also called for unity between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago.
Y peinamos la zona y hemos capturado nueva gente allá en el oriente, no te olvidaremos.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban will meet U.S. President Donald Trump on November 7 in Washington, where he aims to discuss a path to a U.S.-Russia meeting and seek exemption from U.S. energy sanctions. Orban's chief of staff said on Thursday. The Jarly Gaius told a press briefing that the two leaders would also conclude agreement on the cooperation in the fields of energy, the defense, energy, economy, and finance. Orban had previously said that aimed to sign a broad economic agreement with Washington to offset the effect of U.S. tariff on the European Union. The Gaius said Orban and Trump could discuss a plan to work towards a Russian meeting aimed at brokering pitched in Ukraine. Trump said this month that he would meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in the Hungarian capital. However, the meeting was put on the hold after Russia rejected a ceasefire. Orban had said earlier that he would discuss U.S. sanctions on Russia oil companies, Lukoil and Rosneft, their Trump at their planned meeting. The United Nations on Wednesday called on Brazil to end a cycle of extreme brutality in its policing method following a deadly police raid on Rio de Janeiro that left at least 132 people dead. The raid, which took place on Thursday, was the deadliest police operation in Brazil's history, according to public defender Damaso Hartudo. UN human rights spokesman said that Brazil must ensure that law enforcement operations comply with international standards regarding the use of force. She also called for a prompt, independent and effective investigation in the Tuesday event for full-fledged policing reform. The long list of operations resulting in many deaths raises questions about the way such raids are conducted.
Criminal groups such as Comando Vermelho. However, the long list of operations resulting in
Police have arrested 5 more suspects linked to the theft of treasures from the Louvre Museum Apollo Gallery, the Paris prosecutor said on Thursday, expressing hope the latest development will help them find the jewel. Paris prosecutor Lo Berco told radio station RTL the suspect, one whom was identified through DNA trace left at a crime scene, had been arrested in the coordinated raid in different parts of the capital on Wednesday. Evening shortly before the latest arrests were made, the Berco relevant and 2 other men detained over the weekend in connection with the heist had partially admitted their involvement in the robbery. One of the pair has been trying to fly out the French when detained. She said the jewels were still missing, but expressed optimism those arrested might be able to provide more information about the sequence of events. The heist exposed security lapse, the world's most visited museum, and was seen by many as a cause of national humiliation. Ukraine restricted power supply nationwide after Russia's attack damaged energy infrastructure and injured 30 people in the southeastern city of Zaporizhia, said officials on Thursday. 6 children were among the 13 injured in the strike in Zaporizhia, which also damaged a 5-apartment building and infrastructure facility, confirmed its governor, Ivan Ferodov. The Russian forces have pummeled the energy sector ahead of heating session, temporarily cutting power. The hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian and Ukrainian Prime Minister Yulia Savdo and Russia was attempting to cause a humanitarian catastrophe in Ukraine to coincide with winter after another massive aerial attack on last week. Medical sources at Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital confirmed that 2 people were killed in Beit Lahia following the latest assault by Israeli forces. The attack came after a night of relentless bombardment that left more than 100 Palestinians dead, including at least 46 children across the devastated enclave. The Israeli regime's renewed strike came despite in public declaration of the returning to a truce raised in October with the Gaza-based resistance movement Hamas. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the civilian casualty and warned that peace must not slip from our grasp. Mediator in Qatar voiced frustration but said efforts were continuing to implement the next phase of the ceasefire, including discussion on the disarmament on Hamas. The resistance group warned that ongoing Israeli violation would obstruct efforts to recover captive and the bodies of dead. In a separate move, the Israeli regime barred Red Cross officials from visiting Palestinian detainees, claiming the visits posed a security risk.
It's a very small part of peace in the Middle East, and they have to behave.
Before ending, we'll go through the SATV News headlines again. Interim government has no authority to issue July 30 implementation order, said Mr. Fakul, holding referendum before national polls illogical. Jamaat Islam's Naivi Army Team's referendum date to be announced tonight. Eight parties submit memorandum to EC demanding November referendum. Water lily path added to EC's list of reserved election symbols. NCP not satisfied. You are up to date with our top stories so far here on SATV. And to know the latest news, visit www.satv.tv. Stay with SATV.